Hello, everyone. My name is Aniya Kinnion, and welcome to my presentation on HBCUs versus PWIs and why Black students struggle in silence at PWIs. Story overview. For my topic, I wanted to dive into the differences between historically Black colleges and universities and predominantly white institutions, and how those differences affect the mental state of Black college students. The main question I explore throughout this story is why Black students struggle in silence at PWIs. This question highlights so many issues, such as systemic racism and racial trauma, which holds a lot of weight in the current political climate that we are faced with today. Research and reporting. I conducted my reporting by finding research on the topic through various sources, such as studies, as well as books that I found, and by interviewing various sources that provided me with unique perspectives on the topic. My main sources of information for my interviews were Black graduates of HBCUs and PWIs who shared their college experiences. I also spoke with expert sources such as a Black professor of a PWI who also is a graduate of an HBCU, and a mental health professional who provided me with insight on the various mental health issues that a Black student can face at a predominantly white institution. Key findings and insights. My key findings were that most Black students who attend PWIs have a greater chance of being exposed to microaggressions from their counterparts and educators. Black students also deal with the challenge of finding the support needed to deal with the stress of dealing with microaggressions and isolation. Insights. The insights that I gained is that Black representation matters. I say this because a lot of this has to do with a lack of Black representation on predominantly white campuses. And because of that lack of Black representation, students deal with the lack of support. They deal with being discriminated against, and that causes stress, that causes isolation, and then not having the support or the safe space to deal with those issues and to remain strong with everything that they're faced with, it becomes a downward spiral effect. So not only does Black representation matter, PWI should also do a better job of creating a more tailored and adequate experience of mental health support for their students, because not every student situation is the same and not every student's background is the same. And so you can't use a general approach for every student. Every student needs to have that tailored experience to better approach their problem. Challenges. The main challenge that I found is having a topic that involves such heavy issues. When you have a topic that involves such heavy issues and then you ask for people's opinion on it, it can create a level of discomfort because this topic definitely required people to look at an issue for what it is and not for what they want it to be. And not only that, you recognize that despite all the change, the success, and the growth that has happened in the society that we live in, there is so much, unfortunately, that still remains. And it just shows that we have a lot of more work to do as a society. And it really takes all of us working together and conversations like this to open up the door for change. Visuals. I found two key visuals that were very helpful for me throughout this experience. They provided a visual aspect involving numbers to really give me more insight on how Black grads of HBCUs and Black grads of non-HBCUs feel about a topic such as this. For the first chart, this chart is about the different experiences for Black HBCU and non-HBCU grads after they graduated, and this study was done by Gallup. And so, we look at the first question, my professors at my university cared about me as a person. HBCU graduates agreed with this. 58% of them agreed with this, whereas only 25% of non-HBCU grads agreed that they felt as if their professors cared about them during their time at their university. Another one that was very important for me, especially because I talk about this a lot with my topic, is the support aspect and whether non-HBCU and HBCU grads feel support. And as you can see, 35% of HBCU grads agreed that they feel support at their campus, whereas only 12% agreed, only 12% of non-HBCU grads agreed that they feel support. Looking at this and especially highlighting those two in particular, that said a lot for me. That stood out a lot for me. And it showed the importance of that Black representation. It showed the importance of having these conversations and that it's not just a thing in our heads. People are actually struggling on campuses. So it was nice to see this because I think it provides a more simplistic way for people to look at this issue because it's not as it's complex, but when you see things like this, it does help to explain the issue a bit more. And then the second chart. This chart actually, a story was built on this about Black HBCU graduates more likely to be thriving financially, and in their purpose as well as their well-being. As you can see for the first one, purpose, well-being, 51% of HBCU grads agreed that they felt as if they were thriving after graduating from their HBCU and they were thriving in their purpose, they were thriving in their well-being, whereas only 43% of non-HBCU grads agreed that they were thriving in their purpose and well-being. Whereas, let's see, we can also look at this one, physical well-being. 33% of HBCU grads agreed that they were thriving in their physical well-being, whereas only 28% of non-HBCU grads agreed that they were thriving in their physical well-being. And again, that says a lot. So when you look at all of this and then getting the opportunity to hear from my sources and getting their unique experiences, and I was able, from charts like this and studies that were done, I was able to really gather a lot of information that helped me to create my questions, to ask my various sources. And so between information like this and then hearing from my sources, I was actually able to gain a lot of insight that helped me with my story. For the last slide, what I learned, I would say that I learned the importance of investigative journalism and what it takes to really make a great investigative journalism story. I saw the significance. Just diving into this story and gathering all of my information, hearing the unique perspectives from my sources, and bringing all of that together to create this project. It was a labor of love, I must say, and I enjoyed it. And just this whole entire experience in this course allowed me to see how important investigative journalism is to our society. We need this. It's very important. And then, especially with the current climate that we're in today and how journalists are dealing with so much backlash and are being silenced, it shows how having courses like this shows how important journalism truly is. And I enjoy this topic and diving into this story because not only did it highlight experiences of others for me, it also highlighted my college experience being a Black student at a predominantly white institution and I transferred from an HBCU, so I've had the opportunity to see both sides of the coin. And I must say, I agree with a lot of what I found from researching this topic on feeling isolated in predominantly white spaces and dealing with microaggressions, dealing with stress and not knowing how to go about it and feeling a lack of support. So I enjoyed this topic. I enjoyed this project, and I hope that anyone who has the opportunity to look at my presentation, you enjoy it as well. And thank you.